Hi, it's Steve Bann here from Bann Lynch Golf. I'm a long-time PGA Tour coach. I work mainly these days with Stuart Appleby and KJ Choi. Stuart I've coached since he was a teenager, and KJ for the last 10 years. I wanted to share with you some video. I just got back from a 2-week training camp in China with the KJ Choi Foundation, and KJ was up there with me working with 18 of the kids. They're there for 8 weeks training 12 to 14 hours a day, no phones, no internet, no television, so they're a pretty dedicated group of kids, and I think we're going to see a few of them in the next 2 or 3 years as some of the best amateurs in the world, and then down the track I'm sure some successful tour pros as well. KJ's background was he started playing golf at age 16, and there was no golf course or driving range on Wando Island where he grew up. So what he used to do was hit golf balls off the clay tennis court out into a field and draw a line on the clay tennis court and try and hit the ball and then contact the ground 1 inch after hitting the ball. And when the tide was out, he'd hit balls up and down the beach, ball below his feet and ball above his feet. So it was a great background and training drill. So KJ's philosophy is you make solid contact first of all, with no thought to where the ball goes until you can actually middle the golf ball. And he middles the golf ball more than any player that I've ever worked with. So what we have set up in China at Emerald Lakes in Guangzhou is we have a big strip of clay, which is the same clay they use on the tennis court, and we draw a line in the sand, and you can see all of the balls lined up, and the students all go through hitting 5 balls at a time, learning to make solid contact. Now they do this every day for 3 weeks, but what we do is we start to identify some of the key things about impact and some of the tendencies that the students do have when they are trying to make contact first of all. One of the games that they play is they team them up into 2 teams of 9, and the team that mishits the ball the most has to clean the other team's shoes. So you can imagine there's a fair bit of pressure and competition there. So what tends to happen is a lot of the kids start to get ahead of the ball in their effort to try and make solid contact. Now KJ's dominant right eye, and he's always had the idiosyncrasy of kicking his head a little bit to the target side, but he does set his head behind the ball. Our key is left side of his face at the back of the ball, and this student here, you can see, is a little bit more head over the ball, which we're seeing a lot more with some of the modern swing methods. I've always liked left side of the face behind the ball, hands in front of that line, on the target side of that line at impact, head behind that line. Every hitting sport that I've ever seen played effectively, you've hit the ball out in front of you. You'd never hit the ball when it's level with the middle of your body or even past your body. So baseball, tennis, cricket, any hitting sport you like, I would argue that is the best place to hit the golf ball, hit any ball. So here's KJ hitting to the top. And what we look for at the top of the backswing with KJ is that the left side of his face is still at the back of the ball. There's no real shift off the ball, and we basically like the ball basically running up through the left hip joint and through the back of the shoulder. So there's the top of the position. So this young man on the right, we would say he hasn't shifted, well, he hasn't set up far enough behind the ball and hasn't shifted far enough behind the ball. So we'd like to see about 80% of pressure getting into the right leg or the right foot at the top of the backswing. We do that without a big shift. A lot of it starts with just the right setup, and then just the momentum and the shift of that force across to the right's enough to get about 80% there. This is the key position that we work on with all the kids when the KJ is back to left arm about parallel with the ground. We like that line pretty much running up through the middle of the body, and I like the weight to be about 50-50 here, and I think KJ does this as well as anybody in the world at the moment. He is so stable. I mean, all those years of powerlifting when he was a kid has obviously given him a great base. The young man on the right, you can see that that line is running up through his right hip joint, and he's well ahead of the line. Now coming into impact, weight starting to shift into the left, and this is what we want. We want the hands on the target side of the line and head behind the line at the moment of impact. This point of the downswing, we work on lining the club up. We want to get our impact alignments as early as possible. So KJ tries to have his left wrist in a flat position at this point. The young man on the right, you can see his left wrist is in quite a cup position. Now because he's got ahead of the ball and he's too far to the target side at this stage, there has to be some catch up, some throwing of the hands and throwing of the club head. And you can see he's got a very different looking release where there's some breakdown through the left wrist, but he never really got the left wrist into the desired impact position. So we're going to take him back again here. Just another thing that KJ lines the club up beautifully. At this stage he's lining the sweet spot up of the club with the ball, and from here he's pretty much got his impact alignments and he's just turning into the impact. It's a full release, the club head's releasing around the handle. It's no hang on to it, but he doesn't have to do anything other than just feel like he's just turning his right side through the shot into a full release up into the finish. So we work with all of these kids every day. Set up, top of the backswing, delivery position, impact and finish, and the primary focus is on making solid contact. Now I'm just going to take KJ through his swing through again here, and that's just a beautiful delivery position, and then right at impact, and you can see that he just nips that line or an inch after making solid contact with the ball, or an inch after the line, and he can stand there and then just do that all day every day. So it's an amazing training drill. You can see all the balls lined up. These kids go through and they just hit balls every day for hours, 5 balls at a time, taking it in turn, learning to make solid contact. They also, for the first 3 weeks, spend 4 hours a day in the bunker, learning to make the correct sound in the bunker by slapping the back of the sand iron into the ground. When they get the correct sound, they hit some shots and then they rotate through that way. So it's KJ's background is all about making solid contact, and I wanted to share all of that with you. But the fundamentals of setup, top of the backswing, delivery and impact are pretty much the same that just about everybody in the world's working on. This young man on the right already has 117 mile an hour of clubhead speed, so once we get his technique right and have him a little bit more behind the ball here, a little bit more centered at this point here, and not having to play catch up by throwing the club head, he's going to be a hell of a ball striker. Alright, hope everybody enjoyed that. We're obviously not on the force plate, but I'm using the Swing Catalyst software, and some of the key things that I think if we did have KJ on the force plate, we'd see about 80% of pressure into the right foot there, about 50-50 at this stage, and getting to probably 70 and then 80 at impact up into the finish, full finish, balanced over on the left side.